in Sheboygan.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I came back to this one is I had a chance to really look at your handout that you had about the surplus.
Sure.
But before I make my comments, I want to just ask a question about when Tommy Thompson gave back tax relief money, you know, they sent money back.
Right.
Did we not, in fact, then have a structural deficit that Scott McCallum had to try to deal with, that Governor Doyle had to try to deal with, and now our Governor Walker and you guys had to deal with?
Yep.
So a structural deficit occurred, and I think part of the reason for that is because there wasn't enough foresight to see what was happening as far as both the economy and in terms of what necessary services that had to be covered with revenue. So we were short on revenue. Isn't that a fact that was part of the reason why we ended up with a structural deficit?
Well, that's just when I got to the legislature, actually. So, you know, I joined the legislature in '98, and I think it was in '99 when, on a bipartisan vote, we agreed to do the tax relief. And that's when we sent the rebate checks back. You know, and I remember arguing, saying there's got to be a better way of doing that, but to be honest, I think the governor, which most governors, he wanted to have his name on something that went out to people, and we couldn't, you know, convince him otherwise on that. But anyways, we got a lot of tax relief out there. So we, Democrats and Republicans, working with Governor Thompson, said, you know what, we've got extra money, let's reduce taxes in this state. Unfortunately, in the next biennium, they basically forgot that. They said, you know what, we're not going to recognize the fact that we just lowered taxes in Wisconsin. And they went, under Governor McCallum, they went and they passed a budget that spent more money than what they thought they were going to bring in. I voted against that next budget because I knew it didn't make sense. You can't lower taxes and then go and pass a bill that's proposing to spend a ton more. That's how you get yourself into deficit situations. So I think, you know, I can't predict where things go in the future, but I think hopefully most legislators and governors learn from that. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I want tax relief and then say I want to spend record amounts of money. What we have to do here is, I think if this moves forward, we recognize that we're going to reduce our tax pressure in the state. Then we have to be disciplined in our spending as well. And that's how you don't get yourself into deficit situations. You can't spend more than what you're bringing in.
I'd like to make my comments.
Yep. And then we'll keep going on that. Yes.
About your comment. You know, you make the comment that you're not afraid to say that you want this to be a tax-friendly state.
Right.
I wish you would add one word to that. Make this a tax-fair-friendly state.
Okay. Fair
taxes. And one example is property taxes that was just brought up. You know, I've seen studies done on how all the properties that are taxed, you know, 70% of us, I live here in Plymouth, I own a residence, and I'm part of the 70% of the people, 70% of the support, our property taxes come from just residential properties. And I've seen studies done where...
Can you just say it one more time? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying that residential properties actually pay they make up 70% of the property taxes that are paid. I've seen
Yes, right, yep.
So if we would really take a look at fair taxation of properties, I've read studies that said that our residential tax burden could be decreased by 20% if we would fairly tax all properties. There's so many exemptions out there that it's ridiculous in terms of properties that should be taxed that aren't taxed. So that's one of my comments. A fair, friendly state, that's what I like to see happen. And I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in Wisconsin. Fair and equitable taxation. And I can go through a lot of other areas. Income taxes, sales taxes. The exemptions are ridiculous in terms of people not paying their fair share. Then I want to talk about how the surplus, how our governor wants to spend the surplus.
Sure.